They said season 4 would break us. And it did. But what Netflix just quietly confirmed about season 5 is something nobody saw coming. And once you hear it, you won't be able to stop thinking about it. The clues were hidden in plain sight this entire time, and we completely missed them. Season 4 just ended, and I am not okay. I mean that. I finished the last episode and just sat there, staring at the screen because the emotional weight of everything that happened is almost too much to process. Benedict and Sophie finally got their happy ending, and yes, it was everything we wanted. The romance, the tension, the payoff. But the moment those credits rolled, my brain immediately jumped to one question. What happens now? Because Bridgerton never just gives you a happy ending and walks away. That is not how this show works. There is always something brewing underneath the surface, always a thread being quietly pulled. And by the time you realize what is happening, you are already 3 episodes deep and completely emotionally destroyed. Let's start with Sophie, because I think people are sleeping on just how important her character is going to be in season 5. Everyone loved her, and I mean everyone. The comments, the fan pages, the Reddit threads, they are all saying the same thing. Sophie felt real. She felt grounded. She was not trying to be perfect. She was not performing for society. She was just herself. And that honesty made her magnetic. But here's what I keep thinking about. Sophie is an outsider. She came into this world from a completely different background. She does not have the same social conditioning as the Bridgerton women, and that means she sees things they cannot see. She notices things they have been trained to overlook. And in a season that is going to revolve around 2 of the most complex Bridgerton siblings, Eloise and Francesca, that outside perspective is going to matter more than anyone realizes right now. Think about Eloise for a second. Her opinions as armor and her resistance to marriage as an identity. She is not just a woman who does not want to get married. She is a woman who has made not getting married her entire personality because it was the only way she knew how to protect herself in a world that wanted to shrink her. And that is heartbreaking when you really sit with it. Because what Eloise actually wants, underneath all of that, is to be understood. She wants someone who sees her mind and does not flinch. She wants a partner, not a captor. And the fact that she kept going back to Theo, even when it was complicated, even when it was risky, tells you everything. She was not just chasing a debate partner. She was chasing the feeling of being truly seen for the first time. Now think about Francesca. Oh, this girl. My heart breaks every single time I think about her storyline in season 4. The grief she carried was so quiet and so heavy, and the show handled it in a way that felt genuinely devastating. She did not wail or collapse dramatically. She held it together. She kept moving. She tried to be okay, and somehow that made it so much worse to watch, because you could see it. The way her eyes looked a little emptier, the way she smiled a half-second too late, the way she threw herself into the idea of carrying John's baby as if a child could fill the exact shape of the person she lost. And then that examination scene. I genuinely cannot. When she realized she was not pregnant, something in her face shifted, and it was one of the most quietly devastating moments the show has ever given us. So here we are. Season 4 is over. We have Sophie and Benedict riding off into their happy ending. We have Eloise somewhere between who she was and who she is becoming. We have Francesca carrying a grief so deep it has rearranged her from the inside out. And we have a mid-credit scene that dropped like a bomb and left every single one of us with our mouths open. Because that scene was not just a fun little teaser. That scene was a promise. It was the show telling us directly, we are not done with you yet. The story is shifting. The stakes are getting higher. And what is coming next is going to hit completely differently than anything we have seen before. But here is the part that nobody is really talking about. The way season 4 ended was too neat in some places and too messy in others. And that imbalance was completely intentional. The showrunners left specific threads dangling on purpose. Lady Danbury leaving the ton was not just an emotional goodbye moment, it was a structural choice. She is the glue of this world. She is the woman who sees everything, knows everyone, and quietly steers the entire social universe of the ton. When she steps away, there is a vacuum. And vacuums in Bridgerton always get filled by drama, by scandal, by someone who should not have that much power suddenly having all of it. And then there is the new Lady Whistledown. Penelope walked away from her alter ego, and for a moment it felt like the end of an era. But the show immediately told us, It was not an ending at all. There's a new voice in the ton, a new pen, a new set of eyes watching everyone and writing it all down. And we have absolutely no idea who she is. That is not a minor detail sitting quietly in the background. That is a ticking clock, because whoever this new Lady Whistledown is, she is watching Eloise, she is watching Francesca, she is watching Sophie, she is watching all of them. And the question is not just who she is, the question is what she already knows. Season 5 is not just the next chapter, it is a completely different kind of story. The dynamics have shifted, the board has been reset, and the players are not who they used to be. Sophie changed the game just by existing. Michaela changed the game just by leaving. The new Whistledown changed the game just by picking up the pen. And somewhere in all of that change, two women are about to walk into the center of the story and turn everything upside down. So before we even get to the theories, and trust me, the theories are going to make your head spin, we need to understand exactly what the show has been building toward. Because nothing in Bridgerton is accidental. Every small moment, every quiet look, every scene that felt almost too subtle to mean anything, it all means something. And when you line it all up, the picture that forms is so much bigger and more complicated than any of us expected. Because here is the thing about Season 5 that keeps me up at night. The couple has not even been announced yet, and somehow, the show has already told us everything we need to know. Let us talk about something that the fandom has been completely overlooking in all the excitement about Season 5. Everyone is so focused on who the next lead couple is going to be, who Eloise will fall for, what happens with Francesca and Michaela, that they are missing the most quietly powerful shift that happened in Season 4. Sophie Bridgerton is not just Benedict's love story. She is not just the girl who got her happy ending. She is about to become one of the most important characters in this entire show, and the groundwork for that was laid so carefully, so deliberately, that most people watched it happen without even realizing it. Here is what I mean. Sophie came into the Bridgerton world as an outsider. She did not grow up in ballrooms. She did not learn how to perform for society before she learned how to walk. She was not shaped by the ton's rules, its expectations, its unspoken codes of behavior that everyone else absorbed so deeply, they stopped questioning them. Think about the Bridgerton sisters for a moment, and think about what each of them is carrying right now. Eloise is carrying years of self-imposed isolation, wrapped in intellectual armor. She has spent so long arguing against the world that she has almost forgotten how to just exist in it quietly. Every relationship she enters with her guard already up, her arguments already prepared, her exit already mapped out. She is brilliant, and she is brave, and she is also, underneath all of that fire, genuinely terrified of being loved in a way that asks her to be soft. Because being soft, in Eloise's experience, means being vulnerable. And being vulnerable means being controllable. And being controllable means losing everything she has fought so hard to become. Francesca is carrying something completely different. She is carrying grief that she never got the space to properly fall apart over. She carried it quietly, the way she carries everything, with that still, composed energy that makes her seem fine when she is absolutely not fine. She loved John in a way that was so specific to who she is as a person. It was not loud or dramatic or performed for anyone else. It was quiet and steady and deeply private. And losing him did not just break her heart, it broke the one version of her life that had finally started to feel like it fit. She had found her person. She had found her peace. And then it was gone. And now she is standing in the middle of her own life, trying to figure out who she even is without that anchor. And here is where Sophie comes in. Because Sophie has lived through loss. She has lived through rejection and humiliation, and the particular kind of pain that comes from being treated as less than you are for so long that you start to wonder if they are right. She knows what it feels like to carry something heavy and have nobody around you who truly understands the weight of it. She knows what it feels like to love someone when the world around you is telling you that you should not, that you cannot, that it does not make sense. She has been through the fire, and she came out of it not bitter, not closed off, not armored up, but open, warmer, more certain of who she is and what she deserves, and that quality, that hard-won openness, is exactly what Eloise and Francesca need right now. I genuinely believe that in season 5, Sophie is going to be the emotional anchor for both of them in ways that none of the other Bridgerton women can be. Violet is their mother. She loves them fiercely, but she is also wrapped up in her own worldview, her own hopes for them, her own very specific idea of what happiness should look like for her daughters. Penelope is consumed with her own new chapter, her own marriage, her own identity outside of Lady Whistledown. Hyacinth is still young, still figuring herself out. But Sophie? Sophie has no agenda. She is not trying to shape them or guide them toward a particular outcome. She just loves Benedict, and by extension she loves his family. And that uncomplicated love is going to create a space where Eloise and Francesca can be honest in a way they cannot be with anyone else in their lives right now. Picture Eloise having a conversation with Sophie that she cannot have with anyone else in her family. One where she does not have to perform certainty she does not feel. One where she can admit, out loud, that maybe she does want love, not the society version, not the transaction version, but the real version, the terrifying, vulnerable version, without feeling like she is betraying everything she has stood for. Sophie would not judge her for that. Sophie would not make it into a bigger moment than it needs to be. She would just listen and understand, and probably say something so simple and so honest that it cuts straight through all of Eloise's defenses without even trying. And Francesca. The conversations between Sophie and Francesca in season 5 could be some of the most emotionally powerful scenes the show has ever written, if they choose to go there. Because Francesca does not need someone to fix her grief or rush her through it or remind her that life goes on. She needs someone to sit in it with her. Someone who is not scared of how quiet and deep her pain is. Someone who does not need her to perform recovery on a timeline that makes everyone else more comfortable. Sophie, with everything she has been through, has that capacity. She can sit in the hard stuff without flinching. And for Francesca, that might be more healing than anything else the season gives her. But here is where it gets really interesting. Because Sophie's role in season 5 is not just emotional. I think she is going to find herself caught in something much more complicated than anyone expects. She is a new face in a world that has very long memories. She came from outside the ton. She married into one of its most prominent families, and there are absolutely people in that social universe who have not forgotten where she came from and are waiting for the right moment to use it. The new Lady Whistledown changes everything in that regard, because if this new voice in the ton is watching everyone, and she is, then Sophie is absolutely on her radar. A woman who appeared seemingly from nowhere and captured the heart of a Bridgerton? That is exactly the kind of story a new Whistledown would want to tell.